Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Let's talk about 14 ways to kick the habit and supersize your business. Our idiom today, our expression for supersize your business is to kick a habit. Well, kick a habit, they're not exactly sure about the accuracy of the origin of this particular idiom, but they know it became really popular in the first half of the 1900s. Probably along with, I like to think, personal development and all those things. As those were becoming more and more popular and working on ourselves was becoming more popular, we started to think about our habits and the things that we do routinely, and the ones that weren't good for us, we decided we wanted to kick them to the curb and not be handling or dealing with them anymore. So think of things like drug abuse and narcotics and alcohol and alcoholism. Overeating is a huge epidemic. I'm guilty of myself in the United States and in the world these days. Not all of the world, but the United States for sure. We've definitely got an obesity issue. And so that's a habit. Smoking, drinking too much coffee. Oh, excuse me, drinking too much coffee? That's a bad habit? Of course it is. Anything to excess can be bad for us, right? Even exercise, which is normally good for people, can be done in excess and become bad for us. Shopping. So think of all the things that could be a habit. I like to, at the beginning of the year and throughout the year, look at the processes and systems and procedures I'm using in my business, because they are a form of habits and routines. That's what processes and systems are, to automate things. To look at them and say, are these the best for our business right now? We want to be continually improving and making sure that we're evaluating the habits and the routines and the systems and the processes we have in our business. We have in most of the businesses I'm involved in, we have a floating timeline. We're on the anniversary of every process and procedure. If we haven't reviewed it prior to that annual anniversary, we review it on that day. We just automatically do that to make sure that we are continually improving and making sure our processes are keeping up with the changes and the changing times in our organization. So how do you kick a habit? I said we talk about 14 different ways to kick a habit. So what are they? Number one, know what your triggers are. So if we're speaking about, what's a particular habit? Procrastination. Always being late. I'm thinking of business-related habits that can be bad, that we might want to kick. Overreacting, not being who you are in your business, putting on masks and veils and acting like you think you should act instead of who you really are and what's really important to you. So those are all types of habits. So what would cause us to engage in these habits or routines or rituals? Number one, triggers, things that trigger us, things that trigger memories or experiences from the past that cause us to behave in a certain way automatically. Ask yourself why. We just talked about on the BU 365-day challenge today, the exercise called 7 Whys. If you've never heard of that, hit me up in the comments below and I will share that with you, because it is one of the most powerful exercises. Learned it in January of 2020 and have used it dozens and dozens of times since then. So ask why. Why am I doing this behavior in response to this trigger maybe? Number 3, enlist a friend. Ask a friend, enlist them in your help. Now, if you're having a problem with alcohol, you're not going to ask your drinking buddy to help you with the alcohol problem, probably. Number 4, be mindful. Think about and actually think and use your conscious mind to consider what's going on and to consider the behavior. Consider what your current behavior is and what you want your behavior to be. Number 5, swap out habits. And whenever I want to change a habit, say I want to get up earlier in the morning so that I'm not late, I have to do a couple of things to make that happen. Maybe I'm hitting snooze too many times on my alarm clock. I have to change that habit by replacing it with a better habit. So maybe and this is one I've actually had to do in my life, I move my clock across the room so that I have to get out of bed in order to go turn it off. When I was in college, I had the most annoying alarm clock my parents had gotten me in Japan. And it was a wind-up clock, so you had to think about it every day. But I would set it all the way across the room, so I had to get up and go turn it off before it woke my roommate up, because she would get a little cranky. So swap habits. Think of ways to make it easy for you to do the thing you want to do and hard to do the thing you don't want to do. Prepare for slip-ups, number 6, I think. Because chances are, whenever we're changing a habit, we're going to slip a little. We're going to drink that 8th cup of coffee. Oh, it's actually my first cup of coffee today, and I've had 2 sips of it. But I do sometimes drink too much coffee. So we want to prepare for slip-ups. And what happens if we slip up? I say, forgive yourself, forget it, move on, which leads to our next tip. Don't ignore progress. If you've gone 5 days or even 24 hours on your change behavior and you have a little slip up or a little mistake, you eat that chocolate cake, whatever it is for you, don't beat yourself up, just start right over again. Take action to start over again. So make sure that you are not letting all of your progress go because of one little slip up. So those kind of go together to me. Start small. I am not a start small person, but for most people, it works if you start small. If you say, and I learned this from one of my coaches last year, and I've never used this, but supposedly it works on people that are changing habits, is set a goal or an objective that you're just going to do something for 2 days. So say you have a New Year's resolution, you're going to work out 5 days a week or every day for 30 days. And that for most people, they'll never make it, right? The vast majority of the people, 90% of the people will never exercise 30 days in a row. They just won't. I used to be that person. So instead of setting a big goal, and I'm a believer in big goals and then breaking them down, but instead of setting that giant goal, just say, I'm going to do this for 2 days. I'm going to work out for 2 days. And then after 2 days, if you did it and you liked it, recommit and say, I'm going to work out for the next 2 days. Because any of us can do anything for 2 days, right? So I'm going to be on time for work every day. Well, that's not a good one, but for a lot of people it is. I'm going to be on time or early. I'm going to be, instead of on time, I'm going to change my definition of on time. And if I'm 15 minutes early or 5 minutes early, then I'm on time. If I'm not 5 minutes early, then I'm late. I can rechange my definition of things. But start small, and for the majority of people, if you start with a little change, you know, at first say, I'm going to be on time, and then I'm going to be 5 minutes early, then I'm going to be 10 minutes early, whatever works for you. Change your space, change your environment. A lot of times, in order to change a habit, we need to change our actual physical environment. Maybe we need to clean out our car. Maybe we need to clean up our area, change our background. Whatever it is for you, change your space in some way. Next, visualize. Visualize yourself with the habit you want and behaving in the way that you want to behave. After visualizing, we should practice self-care. If we're taking care of ourselves, we feel better about ourselves, and it makes having good habits easier and bad habits easier to say no to. Reward yourself when you're successful. Reward yourself when you're behaving for X amount of time in the way that you want to behave. Rewards reinforce the good habits, the good routines, the good processes we want to have in place and in our lives. Be patient with yourself. Number 13, be patient. Cut yourself some slack. Realize that any change often takes time, and depending on how long you've had the bad habit might impact how long it takes you to form the good habit. Now, I'm a believer that change can be instantaneous. We can change as soon as we decide we're going to change, but most people don't believe that. They have to go at it a little more slowly. But based on my experiences, I found that change can be instantaneous. It mostly isn't, but it can be if we so choose. And finally, get support. If you need help and support and other people to get involved helping you, depending on the habit, you may very well need more support than, and you might not be able to do it on your own. There's a lot of habits that people have that it's nearly impossible to quit on our own, especially physical habits that have gotten a lock on our physical bodies as well as our psyche and our emotions. Those are the hardest to break. So, curious, there's a process for breaking habits and kicking a habit. It involves the 3 R's: remind, routine, and reward, which is covered by these tips as well. Curious if you've ever had a habit that you need to kick. I had to kick I never was a big drinker. I could never handle alcohol, but I had to kick the sugar habit. On occasion, I have to just go cold turkey on sugar for like 10 days to break my sugar habit. Usually every January, because Christmas and the holidays tends to be when I slip up and I let myself eat sweets and things I normally wouldn't eat during the year, but they're just there and I love them, and I have all the nostalgia and the emotional feelings, triggers that set me off in eating sweets. So that is our idiom, our expression for today. How does this work and tie into our business? It works the same way in our businesses that it does in our personal lives, right? Because our organizations are extensions of us, and they are big, living beings in most cases, just like we are. So we can ask ourselves, are there habits in our culture and in our environment that need to be changed? Lots of times there are, and it's hard for us to see them because we're often too close to them. All right, that's our idiom for today. Have an awesome day. Share in the comments below your experience with kicking a habit, how and what's worked best for you, because then we can all learn from one another. Awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? How might you use it in your life and your business right now? Have a great day.